Having vivid dreams or waking up feeling like you just climbed a mountain? Keep listening to the Zoliart Montana podcast. My name is Linda, here with Zoli Althea Brown. Zoli, why is there what's with this physical exhaustion happens after a dream?
Well, it does take effort. It's as much a real world as this one. Even though we're not using our physical body, we're using the emotional body. And I don't really know an answer to that, but that's what I think is going on because I will wake up from some dreams exhausted. Last night I was drinking a Pepsi, which is verboten for me to drink, but I remember what it tasted like. And I woke up and I wondered if I was going to gain a couple pounds because I drank this huge Pepsi, but that was in my dreams. It's just as real, but it's not physical. So the consequences may feel similar. And as our brain, as neurology tries to pick up on how to coordinate that world with this one, that can be tiring too, because it does have something to do with the neurological aspects, even though the astral world, if you're in the astral, that is very emotional and it's very real. And if you're not in the astral realm, if you are somewhere else doing other things, that can be exhausting too. So I think that it all has to do with the neurological, what's the word? The impact. And how tired were you when you went to sleep anyway?
Hmm, that's a good point. Can you describe what you mean by the astral?
The astral realm, we're in this physical, and it doesn't get any lower than this. What people call hell, that energy, that frequency that is held, is the first two levels of the astral realm. It's not down there; it's spread out, and it's all here, so to speak. So it's an experience; it's a frequency, and we resonate with it or not. But the astral realm is where we go after the physical one. When people die their body, most people go to the third or fourth levels. That's like holding patterns. It's you have your houses, you have your impressions. If you think you're going to be an angel, they have you looking like you're an angel until somebody goes, "Hello, you got to go back because you're not done." Levels 5 and 6 is where a lot of really beautiful work comes from. The Course in Miracles, I think, came from the sixth level of astral, and we've discussed that before. But the seventh level of the astral and the upper part of the sixth is where the masters intervene and where they communicate. And things do filter down. And I think things come in also from the mental plane. But as you get to the earth, there's more viscosity to it. It's like it's thicker. It's like it's water instead of mist. And so the finer frequencies, it takes you out of your body and you're floating around, you're doing whatever you think you want to do or whatever you're directed to do. And then you're back in the physical body and it's heavy. This is heavy, but we come here to be physical. This is how we transmute matter. You have to be physical to do the work. And on the astral realm, you can learn a lot. You can spend centuries going to colleges, universities, learning to play an instrument. When you get into the physical body, will you remember that? Probably not. But you can't so-called burn the karma on the other realms that you do here because it's about learning it here. And karma isn't the big bugaboo of hate. What it is the lords of karma want us to love, to feel love, and to be able to express love. And so when we feel, well, it's a karmic thing, they're going to get theirs, we're going to get ours, whatever. All it is a stop and a correction, you see. And so you have to be in the physical body to experience that.
So when we're dreaming, do we also go to the astral?
No, yeah. Yeah, that's what the dreams are. That's where you are. And it's like rubber. It's like Disneyland. Dreams, do we ever fully remember dreams? Some people do. At the Monroe Institute, people are taught to go into their dreams and to interact and to have meetings. And we can do some of that, and we still do that. But I think it could be very distracting to be here and here I've got to go to the grocery store. Then I've got to deal with a dream I had last night. So we have safeguards and we whine about it, but we do have safeguards. We should be glad we have them.
So maybe that's why we don't always remember our dreams, even though they feel like we've done a lot. We don't remember them because we don't need to remember them in this reality.
I think so, and you can train yourself to do that. There's a thing called continuity of consciousness. And we talked about this a long time ago. I can't do this. My husband can go into his dream and change it if he doesn't like it. But the continuity of consciousness theory, which people can do, you can train yourself, is that when you go to sleep, you are still conscious, you are awake. The mind is awake and the body is asleep. And that's the Monroe Institute statement. But there's a continuity. It's not like, okay, I'm asleep, I'm like dead, then I wake up and I'm alive. It's a fluidity. I think it'd be so cool to do it. But I really haven't taken the time to do that. I'm busy.
It's almost like one reality is enough at a time.
It is. That's why I call us reality pirates. That takes compassion and you pirate from one to the next, but you got to have a ship that's your home base.
And that explains um, the way dreams are so much different than the physical world.
They're two different worlds. And the astral world is a complete replica of what we have here. There's not much, and there is, if you believe you want to see the Library of Alexandria, you can see the Library of Alexandria. I don't know how easy it is to do that. I think you have a lot of help on the astral realm too. If you believe that you're going to see Aunt Elizabeth when you die, and she died 50 years ago, she might be back in a body. So you are loved enough to where somebody will appear as Aunt Elizabeth. That's how it is. And you have the same emotions and the same feelings. It's all about love and it's all about the emotions. And once you get above the levels 1 and 2, which is what we call hell, it's very plutonic. It's bad experiences. It's just ridiculous. It's like the planet Pluto. You don't want to go there. Once you get above there, you're going to have more control over what's going on and more joy.
Are those levels connected to nightmares?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what they are. Oh yeah. Now our brain can also generate nightmares. And I don't know the neurology of that. If anybody knows that, please inform me. But the nightmares are the first two levels, and they also many of the beings there. There are also beings that are associated with all the different drugs, with methamphetamine, with ayahuasca. There are some beings that are pretty powerful and pretty nasty that want to control you. They're also helpful beings. So you got to be careful. We have to navigate where we are with some sort of reticence and to ask for help. You have help on the astral realm too. You always have help no matter where you are. And that's very important. And maybe you'll help somebody too.
That's an interesting concept. Is there a way to discern those that are here to help and those that are here to harm?
No, it's dangerous. This earth is plastic. It's a dangerous place. I think you have to have guardians that guard and protect you, and you have to have your own boundary system. Whoever you are right now, you are a certain signature and a certain frequency and a certain reality, and you will magnetically attract that to you. Again, it's the law of attraction. You will attract it to you. In body code and emotion code, my very favorite. I do, God, 2 hours every Sunday. It's very important for me to do. What it does is removes these magnetic, I call them imprints that we have. To say, when I was growing up, kids hated me because I spent too much time at the water fountain. Now, every time I go to the water fountain, somebody comes up and goes, "Are you done?" You can't figure out why. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but it's everything's magnetic and electric. So we give out electricity and we pull in electrically. We help somebody when we reach our hands or our heart or our mind out to help somebody. That's an electrical thing. And what it does is attract to it that same energy. So the way to discern if something good or bad, we'll use those two polar opposites on the astral realm, is pretty much going to be as it is here anyway. You can learn to recognize that. And if it feels bad, it's probably bad. Now, also, we're getting rid of tensions during the day. I used to have this nightmare when I was doing all this research in Nashville that every time I closed a book, I'd look around and the doorbell would ring and these delivery people would deliver five more. And it just never ended. But that's how my life was when I was in school with spirit. It just never ended. So their tension releases also, and that ended, of course. And it also has to do with how much control do we think we have over ourselves, our boundaries. I like to see, let me rephrase it. I'd like to see people be taught at an earlier age that you do have self control. And in school, it's not just, well, don't hit Johnny because he bopped you over the head with his notebook. Why you don't and why he did that. I think we're doing better with it, but all of this gets down to this magnetic and electrical. It's the give and the take. And it's true also on the astral realm. They say, as above, so below. So I think it fits in there also.
It does. That's profound. You talk about a lot of these subjects in your book, The Reality Pirate's Guide to the Astral World in Dreams. And
Yeah.
what I love about that book, I have the paperback beside my desk, and it's such a great book to just pick up and flip through. One of those books where you can just open it and get a message of the day, or have, read a question and come back to it when you want to know more. So let's look at some of those. So some of those questions. Why does the world feel like it's going crazy?
When was it not? We think things are supposed to go a certain way, and when we don't, it's wackadoodle. We're all a bit insane. We're all in the diagnostic statistical manual. I think we're up to five now somewhere, and but at what level? How crazy is it? If we are adding one stressor after the next onto our life, we got to get a break somehow. So going crazy means that it's too much for us to handle. And right now, the changes, the Plutonian, the volcanic shift, the fight and flight, and the Saturnian trying to control it, and then your own emotional stuff. We're being hit with a lot. And I think people are more aware than they were generally. The world is waking up. Look at we the people all over the world are protesting. Not so great to burn down your town because you're pissed off. Wake up the next morning, you can't go to the store. But protest is important. We have to be able to get this out of our body. And so going crazy, that calls for action. The going crazy might have a magnetic feel to it. There's too much coming in, I'm imploding. And if it is truly going crazy, see what you can change about it. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I've got a couple young friends. They have 2 year olds, 4 year olds. Their life feels a little crazy sometimes. But what we do is we learn to manage. It's like if I'm working on a book and somebody shows up, one of the PWBs, people without bodies, and they'll say, you need to work on this more. And I'm trying. They say, try harder. Keep trying. So we've reached these points of crazy that we give ourselves the excuse to quit. And maybe quitting for a few minutes is a good idea, unless you're in traffic and it feels crazy. That could be a little chaotic. But you have to pick and choose, and you have to know who you are. And remember to ask for help. Say, I need some help with this. I need you guys to handle this. Maybe walk away from it and see what happens. You will get help. It will happen.
This is one that I want to hear more about. What are recurring dreams?
There's a lot of argumentation about that, like about everything else on the planet. But I had a recurring dream for years, 4 years. And I think they have to do with unresolved issues. That's quite logically, reasonably stated, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense? But I think there's more to it. The recurring dream is a feeling that we haven't gotten it yet. And it doesn't make any sense. Whatever that dream is about, it doesn't make sense in our life at all. I would have a recurring dream. This went on for 20 years. It ended when we moved to Montana. The dream was that I'd find myself in some city somewhere that I didn't recognize. I had no keys, no purse, no money, no nothing. Nobody would help. It was dark. So there are all these feelings of unresolved emotion. And as I got better with that over the years, I would have the dream and I would have my purse with me. Or I would have the dream and go, I know where this city is. Or I would find myself sitting in the back of a cab going to the airport. So it progressed itself out. But I think the recurring dream is a definite message from the subconscious to pay attention. To what? I don't know, but to pay attention. You got to know yourself, right? Well, that takes a lifetime too. None of this stuff's easy. It's just not. And it only makes sense for a few minutes and then something else comes in and messes that all up. So we have to keep going. We have to do the try thing and we have to keep moving out of it. I think that's the word for energy. What is energy? Does that make any sense at all? Well, your energy's good. Well, there's energy here. Well, I think what it means is moving out of where we are. To have energy is that you are able to move out of a situation, to move out of a place. You may be clear headed, and that's what we want. And so when things feel like they're crazy, we're imploded. And it may be that it's calling for us to change too.
Hmm, that makes sense. And it's interesting that sometimes these things that come up in our dreams aren't we're not in our conscious awareness. So just by observing them and talking about these types of things helps with that awareness.
That's very true. I'm not good at that. I'm like, I joke, I talk about my husband a lot. So what kind of animal are you? What kind of animal is your husband? My husband, if you've ever been to Yellowstone, you see here come the buffalo, the bison, they're coming down the road, they're going 2 miles an hour and they're plodding along. And then here comes the daddy bison, and he's a foot taller than everybody else, is the bull bison. That's my husband. I am the little bird running around its head, jumping up and down, doing this. I'm kinetic. I'm always moving. I'm just kinetic. So I think the feeling of energy and of moving and of trying to figure things out, it has to do with the kind of person we are. It all gets down to that. What kind of person are you? What are your values? That's Taurus. We're in Taurus right now. What are your value system? What do you want to be? And if you're in a dream world and it's not making any sense, I think it's because we've awakened and we have all these impressions. Who knows what the mind is doing? There are great minds that spend years researching this and studying it. That's not me. I'm not good at it. I'll have a dream and go, well, that was weird. you know. And when you and I were writing this book on this, when I was handing you all this information, we were discussing it a lot. You and I both said, "Oh my God, we're just having crazy dreams. We're having more." That's because we were giving attention to it. We were giving energy to it. And for me, that is continued.
Yes, for me as well. Since being part of this project, the dream world has become more open and active.
This world, the inner world is 50% of it. You can't live in the outside world and not understand the inner, and we just don't pay that much attention to it most of the time. We're not given the permission to do that. We're going too fast. We're not educated to do it. Things are so called changing. Meditation, prayer, service, those things can lift us out of depression. It can. It can lift, maybe help us find a good therapist to lift us out of depression. It can take us to a place where we were not here now. And that is the dream place. And that's the inside world. When you meditate or when you go inside and you get those little impressions, that's your feminine nature. And even big bubba guys have a feminine nature. As we and you and I've talked, we were tomboys. We're out playing, digging, and playing football and all this stuff. That's our masculine side. And so you like to have that balance. You like to pull in fun things you want to do. And for your intuition, when a man, you're holding your child, that's a very feminine thing. And so I think we seek this balance, but the dream world, we got to figure this out. We're getting closer to understanding that when you look down at this planet, there's just one, and we're all on it. And we can either get along or not. We're at the end of this cycle to where the Piscean age is gone and we're still doing Piscean things. Why do we have all these individual cars? That's a very Piscean thing. That's very individual. We will see that change too. We're getting there. And as I always like to say, I think there's more hope than not. The more we think about things, sometimes we think too much, and we can. Don't overthink it. So, what's the solution? Try to feel it. Try to feel what's going on, and ask yourself, who do I want to be in the next minute? Who do I want to be? And what we usually say is we want to be calm and we want to feel some joy. And you only get that from the inside.
That's a tough lesson to learn. We seek happiness and joy
Hard.
from the outside so much.
I do it. You constantly relearn it. It's never totally learned because we're here to spiritualize matter. We're here to add that God piece to the material world that's such a draw and it's such an addiction. I love it when somebody says, I don't have any addictions. Well, maybe you're addicted to not being addicted to something, or maybe it's yoga or yogurt, or I don't know, driving at night. It can be anything, anything that takes us away from God. And I do it all the time. I'm just a person. I don't know how evolved I am. I don't have time for that. Today I was too busy cooking in the kitchen. We had backhoe week last week. We had backhoes down here and bobcat and all that. Well, anyway, so you get busy and you have to attend to the physical world. And all of a sudden, I'd look at all this and go, where am I? Where am I in all this? Then we have to remember, as I did, that everything has a segmented time attached to it. Backhoe week ended. I will quit digging that little pond, arguing with the fairies, and then I won't think about it anymore. I'll be into something else. But to keep remembering to pull back, that's the important thing. To give ourselves time to remember to do it. Do we ever totally get it? No, we don't. We will die from this earth never totally getting it, because I don't know of a soul who's a fourth degree initiate, maybe a master. Jimmy Carter was. There's some other people that were, but it's rare. Helena Blavatsky, she's now reborn. She was a fourth degree initiate. She's now born as a young man in the Soviet Union. She'll probably become a master in this life. That's when you get it. That's when you don't even need to listen to this or talk to this. Or I want to dress up in these funny costumes with stage makeup on. You just get it. I'm not there.
The rest of us, we get to talk about it and struggle through it.
Well, we do. That's the point of sharing. We need each other. Elon Musk's son the other day, he said, my son said the most brilliant thing, and this blew me away. He said, my son said, the reason we go out to eat is to be around other people and to eat with other people. That's so brilliant. It is. So, and we need each other. We're social animals. I spend a lot of time alone up here in the mountains, but that's how I live. I talk to you, I talk on the phone, but I'll go into town also. But it's each person's decision. How much time do you spend with others? It can have a lot to do with what's in the 12th house of your astrology chart too. That's your Aquarian house. I mean, I don't have anything there. Many people do. So I'm getting out of my league here with astrology. Y'all can all correct me on that. But that's all I know. So I'm going to shut up.
Well, it's all connected.
Everything is connected. And we keep trying to figure out how to get past that. How can we make it easier? That's one thing all humans do. Here we had this backhoe here moving dirt and this and that. And Tom said, well, I must have moved about 1,000 yards of dirt today. I said, that is what people do. We move things from one place to the next. In your house, we do. We're active. We're engaged in engagement with other people and with things. That's what physical life is. And sitting is the new smoking. It's just get up and move, do something. This is the new thing. I don't know how long that'll last. We'll see.
Right. People do lack movement.
We can. We can't. I'm not the kind of person that can write all these books and stand up and jog while I do it. So I have to make sure I get up, either get on the Nordic track, the treadmill, go out and take a walk on the mountain, do something. And sometimes I don't do so well with it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It gets into the feeling nature of things. Are you going to be kind to yourself? At this stage of the game, as my mother used to say, at this age in my 70s, believe me, you get kinder or you go totally batshit crazy because you can't do what you did. So it's like you breathe into it, you do what you can. But the main thing is kindness to yourself and others.
Kindness for self leads to kindness for others, perhaps.
That's a bumper sticker. That's a beautiful statement. If you've had a bad day and you go into town and somebody just does something nice for you, it breaks that shell, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
It just breaks it open.
And when we're kinder to ourselves, we can block the opposite from happening. When you're kind of in a foul mood and somebody says something mean or does something small and it just triggers you even more.
That's life too. Life's all of it. It's messy. It's emotional. It's messy. It's dramatic. It hurts. And it's wonderful. It's everything there is. It's Disneyland and it's the absolute pit. It's everything. And I think the stronger we get within ourselves, the easier it is to maneuver these thresholds of joy and pain. The Tao, the Chinese thing, Buddhism says, try to stay in the middle. Look for that middle path. We aspire to it. We can't always do it, but when I do that, my life goes better.
That's detachment, right?
Detachment is part of that. I think detachment is not, I don't care, whatever, just do what you want. That's kind of complacency. Detachment is caring, you care, but you also see the wisdom and you know that things will change and you might be able to see why those things are happening. Detachment is just to keep moving and to keep going. And I think detachment can be very kind. It can seem cold, but I don't think that's detachment.
Yeah, it seems more like not being attached to the outcome, being at peace with whatever the outcome is and not getting emotionally
Yeah. And that
drawn.
takes some doing.
Def-
That takes a lot of doing. We see people who are dressed up as gurus who say guru thing. Who knows what their life is like once they're off camera? I have no idea. I don't know. And so we can gain wisdom anywhere. We can gain it. We can gain it from anybody on the street that we meet. We can meet it from the guru meisters. It doesn't matter. It really is the energy field that we want to attract to ourselves. But we have to be that first. Very important that we get in touch with that inner piece of us. Now it's getting better. It's going to get easier to do that. There's a lot of change and things are going to be okay. They really are.
it feels like when people are scared or they don't think things are going to be okay, that's when they go into getting excited about astral travel or wanting to be on different planes of existence.
Well, we do. I we reach this pinnacle of I can't go any farther with this physical world. And then what happens when you start going over the other side of that is you realize that you left a lot of that over there. You don't have it, you don't want it, you don't need it. I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about things that you didn't, that you thought were so important. And as you get older, you'll see that they're not. That kind of thing. It's also the word forgiveness. I think forgiveness can be a hard word because it has a lot of religious, socio-religious guilt and shame attached to it. Instead of trying to forgive, just say, I just moved past it. I just moved beyond it.
That seems like a lot easier to accomplish.
Well, I'm always looking for the easier to accomplish. I'm the one that's like reality pirate. I want food and I want comfort and I want peace of mind. Don't always have it. Sorry.
Mhm.
It hurt. life's going to hurt.
That seems to take us back to astral travel. It seems like people try out the astral travel route because they want it easy. They say, "Oh, if I could just astral travel, then I don't have to worry about the physical anymore."
That can be. Maybe some people do that. I think a lot of times it's the beings who guard you and who assist you are putting that into your being, saying, "Let's look at this. I want to give you some teases and some hints. Aren't you curious about this? Wouldn't it be interesting?" And that picture there, it shows the different levels that you can be on and how they're disconnected. And if it all came back together, it would be a whole. But it's never totally together because we are multidimensional beings. Are there other us's alive other places? Supposedly so. My mind can't wrap around that. I have enough just dealing with here and now. But I think to get into the question of astral travel has to do with the question of where are you when you sleep? What am I doing when I'm out there? Or maybe you've had some dreams and they were tender and they opened a piece of you and they allowed you to connect with a piece that now you're ready to deal with it. I don't know.
It's all a life lesson and a learning process, whether it's here or in the astral world.
God, everything is. Can't some things just not be that? Can't they just be a chocolate sundae and just be that? And maybe they are. And that's kind of the detachment thing also when we detach from stress, and we need to do that too. Is that I often say the stress levels that I deal with are not commensurate with the life that I have. But I deal with a lot of stuff like arguing with fairies, and I go into Walmart and I see giants. It's crazy, but that's okay. I'm attenuated to it and I write about it and I get it out that way. And I can appear totally batshit crazy. So what? Who cares? It's who we are. We could just laugh about stuff or we can get over involved with it. We do both. We're just people. And the more we can accept that we're just people and we're peopling, we're doing our people thing every day to try to add a little joy to the world or a little bit of humor. That's pretty cool. When people do that, I think it's pretty cool.
And that's what you're doing with Zoli art, which is one of the reasons I love it so much because it's so much fun to think about pirating to a new reality and finding the joy in the reality you're in.
I hope so. It's me getting this out. I know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing with this lifetime. I think I've done this in many, many lifetimes before. And I think we come back with each life and we try to perfect our myth of who we are. And we want our soul to come into the personality more. And we do that by love. We do that by sharing. We do that by asking for help and helping. It's all this reciprocity. And Zoli Art is dedicated to just putting out this work and the gifts that I'm given from these other beings and these other worlds. Is it all true? I don't know. I have no idea. But there's a difference. I know the feeling, the signature of me making something up and writing something and then having a being really appear. The signatures are totally different, absolutely different. And I don't understand why. It might be neurological. I think it's my training. It took me a long time, maybe 40 years to really understand that. Made a lot of fun mistakes. So what?
Mistakes are part of the learning.
You can't help it. You can't help it. We just had to hire this guy to dig up a wellhead that was, 20 feet down. Our well is 900 feet up here in the mountains in Montana. But the frost free pump thing, I won't get too much into that. But we had to hire him to do that. Did we know how to do it? No. Did we spend all winter making sure we didn't lift the thing up? Did we do it once? Yeah. That was a tragic mistake. So you're going to make mistakes. You do it when you're distracted, or you do it when you don't know, or you just do it. And this is, we all get all caught up in this. There's always enough blame to go around, and I think kids can deal with it better in some way. They just get it out, and then they're sharing peanut butter sandwiches. It's maybe we need to be kids again. I think we do become kids again when we're about 90, but I won't go there.
Yeah, it seems like kids know how to be themselves a lot more than we do as adults, less inhibited.
I think so. But once again, we have to learn some inhibition. What's the opposite of that? We have to learn to be inhibited in some way in order to live in society. We can't totally be ourselves all the time in that way. You have social rules, social mores. If I got up and I wore a toga and I went into town, that's kind of crazy. That's Halloween or that's Mardi Gras or whatever it is. And so there's times and places for this. And so I think what is the real to be uninhibited has to do with love, to love outrageously and voraciously move towards other people in a way that can affect their life and affect our life and then disappear. They're people that I've known for 30 years. I have no more communication with them or them me. Things end.
Right.
Things end. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It means that we're now moving into a different frequency, and maybe they are. We're just people. And the more we can get that, the happier we're going to be.
That's a delicious concept that we just need to love each other and not get so caught up in how or when or why we're in each other's life, just to be there and to be ourselves at the same time.
That's the family. That's the karmic connection of family and of these groups that we come in at about 1,000 people in a soul group. And we seek the same goal in different ways. And sooner or later, we all join back together and we are whole. We seek that wholeness, right? Every major religion in the world teaches that we seek that wholeness. We seek God the Father, the electrical peace, God the Mother, the magnetic peace. And those two things together, they do what? They create new human beings.
Wow.
And the love is attached permanently to that. Then we run around and do crazy stuff. Forget all about that. But that's life. That's what it is.
And there's always hope. That the energy of hope is underneath all of it.
Oh, there's always hope. There's always hope. And when we can get a hope from other people, it's a kindness and it's a real blessing because they might have gone out of their way to see that you is having a rough time or doesn't get something. It doesn't take that much to be kind. I love to talk to younger women. And to me, younger is anybody younger than 70. There's a lot of them out there. They have the blue hair, the this and that. You look crazy. You have your body parts exposed, whatever. When you're younger, you look better with body parts exposed. When you're older, cover them up. And people are ignoring them because they look like little hoes or whatever. I'll go up and go, you look wonderful. You look wonderful. And you can see they just want that as I did. And I got the compassion from an older woman, from a crone, going, you're okay the way you are. You're at that stage that you're going to do that. I did it. I had my time. This is yours. There's a lot of joy in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of joy in it. And when we can do more of that, there's a guy in town, this huge guy, he wears a kilt. I think kilts are, I'm Scottish, but I love kilts. It's a utilitarian kilt. My husband almost fell off the stool at Starbucks. I said, stop. That is like a Carhartt material kilt. That is very accepted. And so is that accepted in American society? So you have to look at the mores, paese che vai, usanza che trova. When in Rome, do as the Roman do. We want to fit in a certain way. But you don't have to fit in all the way, and it doesn't have to be tight and restrictive, not all the time. So there's no real answer to that. But I think the only solution to that is compassion.
Yeah.
It's just the love and the compassion. When we do that, we are so fully human, and we are anticipating that love from God the Father, the electricity, and anticipating that love from the mother, the magnetism that is creating us as more of a human being. And that's really what it is. It's that pressure, the compression of those two energies, because we're in a bipolar world with opposites, black, white, up, down, green, yellow, boy, girl, whatever. I'm not getting into that. But we're in the pressure cooker, and we want to create. We want to create.
That's inspiring to feel that energy as something to create instead of something to hide from.
That's true. And the hiding has to do usually with, will I be accepted? Maybe you won't, but you should do it anyway, in a way. Find a venue or find the people. If it's something you're really passionate about, God knows what specifically, but we want to be accepted because we want that reciprocity of putting something out and getting it back. It's like being a musician. You play, people clap. You're an architect, you design a building, they build it. Oh, wow, there you can visually see it. So the five physical senses are very much engaged with all of this. But there are inner senses too. You have just as many inner senses, and those are working 24/7, even when you're asleep.
So going back to the dream world that we were talking about before, the five physical senses don't seem like they work as well in dreams, but there are other senses that are more heightened.
Because they're physical senses. You don't have them. They're in the astral world. You don't need to eat. You don't need to poop. If you get hurt, it might hurt. And certainly sometimes you wake up and you feel a pain. But I think that's a neurological thing. It's the signal being sent from the brain down to the body that you dream. I'm not sure how it works. You could really get into it sometime, but with somebody that really knows what you're talking about. I don't. So you are in your inner senses world. You're in another world. You really are in another place. And that is so cool to me.
It is so cool.
And when you die the body, when you leave the body, you will go there. That's why it's important to prepare. Where do you want to go? How do you want to go? To learn a technique of being able to raise yourself up when you're leaving this physical body and that cord is cut. Where do you want to go? If you don't know where you want to go, you'll be taken there in accordance with karma and divine will. But if you raise yourself up, they say, look for the light. That can have a lot of meaning and reason to it. Because Ain Sof are light, limitless light. Everything is light, and it began as light, and it will end as light, because it's all there really is. The ancient cultures that worship the sun. We will return to that in the sense of understanding why that is. We're not.
We're not there yet.
No, it's okay. We got other things to do first.
Yeah. Getting to the kindness and the love and the compassion is a start.
That's the main thing. When I do that, my life goes great. When I don't, it doesn't go so well. And I get mad at myself. So what? I'll get over it. Get mad, you get glad.
That's a good point.
My mother used to say that. My mother was the queen of aphorisms. She had an aphorism for everything that happened. I should have put that on her gravestone.
That'd be a good one.
Oh, she'd haunt me if I did. She warned me.
Be reasonable, Zoli, right?
Yes, be reasonable. Oh my God. Yeah.
You carry the wisdom of your mom well.
She, that came to me late, and I wish she had been around long enough to see me evolve into who she wanted me to be. But it takes a lifetime. It took us moving to Montana and me having this big alpha male guy, going, sit down and shut up and think about it while I'm jumping around being the reality pirate. It took me 2 years. He thought I was absolutely insane. Good thing he loved me. He might have a few faults too, but that was my thing. And so I had to grow into myself. And I think we're supposed to become people we don't know. that we just don't know yet. I wondered why I could not enact the things that my mom tried to teach me. Well, I had other things to learn first.
That's true,
So
and
I
your husband, as an example, just shows how we help each other, or we're there for each other, and we need each other in ways we don't even know yet.
we do. And a lot of it is silent. It's the inner senses. You're married. You've been married quite a while. You got 3 kiddos.
Mhm.
You know, Tom and I have been together 15 years. We still haven't killed each other yet. There's always time for that. But you learn to manipulate your own self with your emotions. You have to manipulate your emotions and talk yourself out of stuff. And that's what we have to do in the workplace. We have to do it out in the world. We have to manipulate ourselves. And manipulate isn't a bad word. It means get real, look at who you are. Who are you right now? And is that who you really want to present yourself as?
It's a kind way of helping people see themselves and see the possibilities of change.
Yeah, I think the greatest thing we can do is just be ourselves and detach from it, from that outcome. Just be yourself. And that doesn't mean by your actions be wackadoo. Well, you can. I'm not telling you you can't do that. Some people came here, they're supposed to do that. But to be yourself usually means that you're at peace with yourself. And when you do that, you know what to say, you know what to do, you know what to be, and you know how to fit in your way of being with the way of being in the society that you live in. That's what I think normal is. Well, what's normal? Well, I think normal is an appropriate response to the activity and stimuli of the time. You're speaking your vernacular and dialect. You're living in a society, in a small society, in a larger society, and there are levels to that too. But the thing about fitting in, after you go through your rebellious stage, of mine was awful. I was an awful child. I was an awful teenager. Once you go through that and you finding out who you are, things seem to settle down some. Your Saturn return, your first one, 26 to 30, that's when you become an adult. Astrologically, it's when all the brain is bathed in the hormones and Chiron, you're no longer protected by the nanny that protected you. You are an adult now, so you have to adult. That's the capital A. So there's different phases that we go through, but I think to try to fit everything in at once, we can't. We can't do it. We have to aspire to that and then just kind of let it go.
That's powerful advice. Be who you are, but be reasonable, in the location where you find yourself.
Well, we have to, if we don't, the others that we want to have listened to us will not listen to us because they can't connect it. We have to connect ourselves. It's like Buckminster Fuller's geodesic dome. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. Here you are, you connect yourself to another person and then to an idea. And so you have a triangle that's called tensile integrity. If one of those things disappears, you still have two, and there's still tensile integrity. It's the power of three, if I can get into all this. But we connect. So you have you, yourself, and somebody else and an idea. Then here comes another one out here. What do you have? Another one. So you start building this geodesic grid. So we connect with people in that way, with the people and the ideas, the collaborative idea of let's do something to create something to make the world better, or just make our life better, or to make it less shitty. There's so many levels to that. There's so many levels to it, but it is the effort of who am I right now? How do I want to move that into the world? What do I want to do with it? It took me years to get this Zoli art stuff. I joke that I had the writing, the music, the art, and it was all living in my basement like it was 3 30-year-olds. And so I sent them all to school, got them each their own degree. Now they're out doing their thing. And I can kind of detach a little bit from it. Just do my work and show up and see what happens next. I'll say my husband, he doesn't like hearing this. I say, I'm not long through this world. I've lived most of my life. But I'll say that, well, it's clear. What do you think? I'm going to live to be 140? No. And so you start looking at different aspects of yourself. How do I fit into the world now as a crone, as an older woman? What do I want to present to the world that can hopefully make a difference to some people, people who I'll never know, never meet, never see? That's what Zoli art is about.
What a wonderful way to show compassion for others without needing to impact their lives directly or interact directly with them.
I love people. It's very easy for me to love people. I don't like what a lot of people do, but they don't like what I do. But I genuinely came into this life with a gift, and that gift is that I love people. I don't know why, but it's what I have. My poor mom, oh my God, she'd say to me, "Sweetie, I love you so much." And I'd say, I'm six, "I love you too, Mom, but no more than anybody else." What a whack, that shit crazy thing to say. But I just felt that. I felt she was no different than anybody else, and neither was I. And that I think is what the Zoli art piece is. If I can do this, then you can find a piece in yourself where you can express, you don't have to be an artist, but you can express part of yourself and you can make a difference somewhere. And you do that with love and compassion. And that never ends. Love, it never ends. It has no beginning or end. It just doesn't. When you die and you end up on the astral realm, you're still conscious. You're still thinking. You're still talking like this. Then you move on. What if you can stay in the astral realm for thousands of years? I asked my mother, she showed up a couple weeks ago, "Do you plan on coming back in? Because dad is probably going to come back in soon." She said, "I have no interest in it right now. I'm really enjoying myself, learning a lot up here." I thought that's pretty cool, you know. But you are still alive. You just don't have to deal with this physical body. But you do have to come in and finish your cycle. So then you become a master, your fifth degree. Then you become part of the Ascendi, the ascended, whatever, like Maitreya is. You go on, maybe create your own solar system. Maybe you'll stay here to help people. I don't know. The Theosophy teaches a lot of that. That is my method, is Theosophy. I don't think there's any other way to do this except to keep going forward.
That is the inspiration.
It can be. We just keep moving. We just keep moving and finding out more and more and more who we are, finding out more pieces.
Thank you for sharing and being our inspiration to keep pursuing these interesting topics.
Well, it helps me too. Sometimes I sound ridiculous, but that's okay. I'm just a person.
The world is
Thank
ridiculous,
you.
so it fits.
No, thank you, Linda. You're wonderful.
It was a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.
Take
Thank you.
care.